Hi, welcome to Give Me the Bible, where God's Word speaks for itself. In the previous video, we talked about the difference between happiness and joy, and we talked about the fact that God really never promised us happiness, but as Christians, we can have joy, and happiness is based on the circumstances that we're in. It's an emotional reaction to those circumstances, and joy, on the other hand, is transcendent of circumstance. And I need to make a very, very important point about joy in this video, and that is that joy is not just an emotional reaction, it is a choice based on faith in God. Joy is a choice based on faith in God. And think about that. That makes sense, right? Because I'm not saying that whenever, as Christians, something bad happens to us, like, if a car runs over our toe, or, I don't know, we lose all our money in the stock market or something like that, that we should just put on a smile and say, yes, I have Christ, and everything is just marvelous, and I'm not unhappy at all that I just lost my entire life savings. No. The call is not for Christians to not be real. We're real people. We have real emotions, and emotional reactions to our situation are perfectly normal. You read some of the Psalms, and some of those Psalms are just, like Psalm 88, I think it is. It's like one of the most depressing Psalms in the whole thing. And it's talking about how terrible everything is in life. And hey, that's just how the psalmist feels. And sometimes we feel that way because the circumstances that we're in are horrible. You look at Job, and Job says things like, I wish I was never born. This life is awful. Why did you even create me, God? And he just feels horrible based on those circumstances. Even Paul in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, notice this, 2 Corinthians chapter 1, he was talking about the distress that he faced in Asia. And he said in verse 8, "We do not want you to be unaware, brethren, of our affliction which came to us in Asia, that we were burdened excessively beyond our strength, so that we despaired even of life." I mean, Paul was in a horrible situation there in Asia that he didn't want to be there. That was a this situation full of despair, and people hated him, and people were falsely accusing him, and people were trying to kill him. That was not pleasant. That wasn't something that made Paul happy. Okay, so when I say that God gives us joy, I don't mean to say that we're never unhappy. And if you're ever unhappy as a Christian, well, then you're just a sinner, and you need to always put a smile on your face. Not the point at all. The way it works is this. Something terrible happens to us, like we lose everything, kind of like Job did, or we get put in prison like Paul did. And guess what? That's going to elicit an emotional response that's not going to be good. We're gonna say, this makes me unhappy. And we're even probably going to pray about that. God, this is awful. I'm in so much despair. I don't know. I feel so terrible. And these things are just, overwhelming for me. But once we do that, then joy kicks in, where we say, even though I feel so unhappy, God, even though these circumstances are terrible, I have faith that things will work out in you. That even if this situation here on earth doesn't get better, I have faith that one day I will be with you in heaven, and that is where the source of our joy comes from. So where even though, like Paul being in prison, and as unhappy as he would be wasting away in prison, he was still able to choose to be joyful because of his faith in the Lord, and he was able to teach people the gospel even while he was in chains, because he said the gospel of God is not in chains. And so I hope that that's clear. That yes, we will be unhappy based on circumstances that happen, but because of Jesus and the hope that he offers of being in heaven one day, we can have joy based on faith in that hope. I hope that's clear and helpful, and Lord willing, I'll see you next time.